Hi there. If you see me bouncing up and down, it's because I'm sitting on a yoga ball. I can't sit on that chair anymore. I'm never sitting down for this long, so sitting down on a chair is driving me nuts. Anyway, so that's what the bouncing is about. Okay, so what you need to do is make sure that you have a pencil, make sure, or a pen, make sure that you have your packet, the language of sketching packet from Monday or Tuesday's lesson. And basically, we're just going to be going through it. You can write a few notes or maybe sketch in the margins or whatever, but we're just really going to be talking about it. We're going to be talking a lot about technical sketching for the next week or two. We're actually going to start actually sketching on Friday. No, Friday's a B-day. On Monday, we're going to start sketching. So you're going to need some graph paper or some paper and pencils and stuff like that on Monday. And actually, no, you're going to print out a piece of paper. So we're going to start sketching. My students usually love the sketching unit, but there's a lot of technical language. So today we're going to go over the technical language, and then maybe later on in the unit, we'll do some vocabulary games, some Kahoots, stuff like that. And all that good stuff. So today I'm going to go over everything in the packet. Make sure you have the packet with you. And then at the end of the packet, that's today's assessment, you're going to do the matching at the end of this lesson. And then you're going to, in the comments section of the classroom, you're going to answer the two questions. Have you used any of these methods to sketch in other classes? And if so, which methods and which classes? And which methods do you think we will use the most in design and modeling? So those are the assessments for the end of today. But I'm going to show you a PowerPoint. So get your pencils ready in your packet. You can pause this now to get your pencils and stuff like that in your packet, and then unpause and come back and watch the rest. Okay, so here we go. Luckily, all the tools will work. Hey, look, it's like I'm in the front of the classroom. Okay, so like I said before, we're doing a lot of technical sketching, and technical sketching or drafting. Everybody in my family is an architect, so I grew up with like drafting tables and blueprints and fancy tools and drawing implements and whatnot. But I never actually learned how to do the technical sketching until I took a class in college. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about two different types of drawings. We're going to talk about pictorial drawings, and we're going to talk about orthographic multi-view drawings. Okay, so the first type of pictorial drawings there's two types. So the funny thing about 3D modeling or 3D sketching is we use a two-dimensional piece of paper and we're trying to render a three-dimensional object. So a two-dimensional piece of paper has an x-axis and a y-axis, or an x and a z or a y and a z, but doesn't have all three. So you kind of have to make believe there's this technique. So you're going to make believe there's this third axis, a z-axis, that can make the picture pop out from the paper at you. And one of those techniques we can use is called isometric sketches, which we've already talked about a little bit when we put the isometric view in the top right-hand corner of a working drawing in Autodesk Inventor. And then there's perspective drawing. And perspective drawings are something that are usually used in, maybe you've done one in art class. A lot of you guys have done perspective drawing in art class so far. Those of you who are just taking art this year right now might get to it later. And it provides a realistic view of an object where you can see three different faces of the object at one time. So you can see the front of the object, you can see the side of the object here, and you can see the top of the object. Okay, same thing with the isometric view. So on one piece of paper, you can see all three sides of an object. You can't see the back and the other side and the bottom, but that's pretty good for a two-dimensional piece of paper. Okay, so the first type. So remember we talked about there was pictorial, right? There's pictorial drawings. There's two types of pictorial drawings, isometric and perspective. Within isometric, let's just talk about what isometric means. You've heard ISO, like isolated, but also isosceles triangles, okay, equal measures, isosceles, so the ISO. Three adjacent faces on a cube will share a single point, so you've got this single point in the front. Any horizontal line here, the object on the paper, the object lines will come off that horizontal line at 30 degrees, and then the only other lines that are really off that 30-degree angle are those vertical lines. You notice there's no horizontal lines in that object drawing at all. So we know it's isometric when there's exactly 30 degrees on the width and depth angles there, okay? All right, so isometric pictorial, these three edges represent height, width, and depth. So on your paper, where there's a picture of a cube, you want to put the height label on the vertical line and the depth label on that line that goes off to the right and the width label that goes off to the left. It's really important that you remember that height is that vertical, depth is off to the right, and width is off to the left. Okay, so any three-dimensional object has three dimensions, so 3D, three dimensions. So those three dimensions are height, width, and depth. Okay, so this is an example of an isometric sketch, and you can see this wacky paper is isometric sketch paper. We have tons of it in the classroom. I don't have any of it now, but I can give you a link where you can print some out, and they're really fun to play with. If you know how to use them correctly. And you can see this beautiful picture of a clothespin. Clearly someone is a gifted draftsman here. But if you look here, they really just kind of followed the lines. They followed those dotted lines. They follow the dotted lines, and then they follow the dotted lines for depth, and then they follow the dotted lines for width as well, and then they follow the dotted lines for height here as well. So this looks really magical. They did a nice job with the shading and things like that, but I think that you're going to be surprised at what you'll be able to create when we start practicing. This is also an isometric sketch example. So if we had a flat line down here, I'm going to move this over a little bit. Flat line down here. Okay, we've got these lines up here. The depth is up at 30 degrees from that horizontal, and then the width is up at 30 degrees as well, and there's that height dimension. So there's the padded seat. That would like be a flat seat. Okay, and you can see this is definitely a drawing that somebody did in their engineering notebook. This is a design for a piece of furniture. They've got a signature, they've got a date, they've got some annotated labels. Doesn't look like they used a ruler or anything, but lines are pretty straight. Maybe they did use a little. Well, I don't think they used a ruler. Pretty nice though. These are some examples of isometric sketches from an actual engineering notebook from a patent application by a guy named Earl Silas Tupper. And it was a plastic bowl with a lid that would fit very tightly, and it would make an airtight seal. Do you know what that is? I'm going to leave that. Maybe you can put it in the comment at the end. Who was Earl Silas Tupper? What did he make? Anyway, so perspective drawings are a little bit different. So perspective drawings are supposed to be more realistic because these portray the pictures in a way that humans would see it. I'm so used to looking at isometrics that perspective drawings look weird to me now. They look distorted and odd. Whatever. There's two different kinds of perspective drawings. There's 1-point perspective and 2-point. So remember, we're doing pictorial drawings. There was isometric, and we talked about isometric. The second type of pictorial drawing is a perspective drawing. Okay, so perspective drawings are also a type of pictorial drawing. And there's 1-point and 2-point. So 2-point is supposed to be the most realistic. Okay. Then there's 1-point perspective. 2-point perspective drives me crazy. It looks all weird and distorted and not like an engineer would look at it at all. But you know, an artist might think differently about that. So 1-point perspective is simple to make. Okay, so there's a single vanishing point on the horizon line. Okay, I'm not really going to talk about how to do that right now. There's a lot of words on this paper. It says it's relatively simple to make, but is somewhat awkward in appearance when compared to other types of pictorials. I disagree. A horizontal line represents the horizon. You can see the horizontal line in this drawing as well, this horizontals. One vanishing point is off on the horizon. You can kind of imagine it off there in the distance, and a series of lines are drawn from distinctive points on the object to the vanishing point, outlining the object being constructed. So you would like look from these points, you would draw those lines out. Okay, like this, there's a tape dispenser, old school iPod. Check that out with the wheel and everything. Okay, so you can see that horizon line, you can see that vanishing point, single vanishing point. Okay. All right, now 2-point perspective. 2-point perspective is the most common perspective type of drawing, and we are not going to actually draw that together today, but I can show you what that looks like. So this is a picture of looks like an inkjet printer. Right, there's the lid, there's the buttons, there's the little paper tray thing where the paper comes out. We have the horizon line, vanishing point 1 and 2, and then we draw the lines out. Okay, the other type of drawing that you're very familiar with is a multiview orthographic, which is not a pictorial drawing at all. It shows 2 or more two-dimensional views of a 3D object, and it provides a shape description of an object. And we can use these multiview drawings for manufacturing because they're very, very detailed. They're not distorted. They've got dimensions and all that good stuff on it. We are going to learn how to do these by hand, which sounds like a ton of work, but it's actually not as hard as you think, and you're going to get really good at it because we're going to practice a lot. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so a multi-view drawing here, we have three orthographic multi-views, which dimensions. There's lots of lines here, so remember that solid line around the object is the object line, dotted lines are hidden lines, and these lines with arrows are dimension lines that just tell you the sizes of things. I don't know what the unit here is. Could be an inch, could be a centimeter, could be a millimeter. This could be like a mile. I don't know how big this thing is. And that's the isometric view in the top right-hand corner. This is affectionately known as a widget. I don't know what it is or what it's for. It's a thing, a widget. So this is another example of a multi-view sketch. You don't have to do it on graph paper. You've got your isometric view in the top right-hand corner, and you've got your front, left side, right side, and top views on the left. Notice your front view is always directly below your top view. Always, always, always. Okay. All right. There we go. All right. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go back to your language of sketching document, and you're going to go to the last page, the last 2 pages. So right here, the last 2 pages, you're going to do isometric drawings. It's on the isometric view shown above. Draw arrows to identify width, height, and depth of the object and label each dimension. Okay, so where's the width, where's the depth, where's the height? Go back through the PowerPoint if you need to. I can post the PowerPoint for you, and I'm also going to post this video, obviously. So you can rewatch the video where I explain it, or you can just look at the PowerPoint slides. And then you're going to do the matching at the end. You're going to match which one's a thumbnail sketch, which one's 1-point perspective, which one's 2-point perspective, which one's an orthographic drawing, and which one is an isometric drawing. Okay. And then in the comments, you're going to type the answer to the questions. Have you used any of these methods to sketch in other classes? Which ones and in which class? If you'd like to reply to each other's comments, you may do so, but make sure everything that you say is school appropriate. Okay, talk to you soon.